and welcome to the Power Up Talk Show, a talk show where we bring together community leaders, inspirational people that are making a difference in the world. I'm Sandy Spady, your host, and today, enjoy the journey. But before we begin that journey, we like to start our journey with Dion Bass with Softcore Cocktails.
Thanks, Sandy. Thank you. I was thinking about fall cocktails and I was thinking, what am I gonna do this year with pumpkin? And so boom, I had all of these ideas and I settled on this one. And I call it the Pulp Fiction because, well, pumpkin pulp and apple juice and a little bit of caramel make a great cocktail. So we're gonna start out with that particular ingredient. And we're just gonna add a little bit.
And Dion, I think you should share how, honestly too, we have a mocktail too.
Oh yes, so this can easily be made into a mocktail with the apple juice. Where, if you want to add vodka to it, it's wonderful, but it's also safe for kids to drink and safe for, let's say anyone who may have some sort of, diabetic or anything like that. You can make a sugar-free version of this too. So it is literally the quintessential cocktail of the fall. Also, apple and pumpkin together, wonderful. So we're gonna go ahead and give these a little shake.
He's so good at shaking. I love
it. All right, now, finally, once you give those a shake, they're a very easy pour. And then you add just a little bit of cold foam to the top of them. Now this is a vanilla cold foam because I just love things with flavor. And vanilla is a quintessential fall flavor too. And so it makes a very beautiful fall cocktail that anyone can enjoy. And there we go. We have our Pulp Fiction. Sandy, enjoy the season, love.
Thanks, Tia.
You're welcome.
All right, well, let's toast.
Yes.
All right. Congratulations. Cheers. Yes. Now, what's so nice is that I'm going to introduce the most amazing, lovely lady ever. Her name is Julie Seidl, confidence coach.
Yes.
And her story of recovery of anorexia and sobriety. So that's why we're sharing right now is that we have a mocktail too.
Yes.
Because who says you can't have an experience without the liquor, right? And it's nice. And actually, Dry Spokes in Omaha, they're good friends of mine. They have all mocktails too. But we're going to share everything about Julie today because Julie, you are truly inspirational to so many women.
You.
And you're actually going to be a speaker at the Women with Voices October event.
Yes.
We have 10 women talk about mental awareness, suicide awareness, and also cancer awareness.
Yes.
Because when we speak, the truth comes out and it also helps others, right? Julie, why don't you tell me about your journey?
I mean, it's been a long one, but I started, 8 years old was when my eating disorder started. I didn't like who I was. I didn't like the way I looked in the mirror, and I made myself throw up for the first time. Somebody actually showed me how to do it. And that continued back and forth between bulimia and anorexia. I started drinking when I was 12. I'm from Blair, small town, so I'm sure a lot of people can identify with that. And I just truly kind of fell down the path of my addictive personality in general. But the kind of common theme there throughout all of my years was that I didn't like me. I didn't like who I was. I didn't like what I saw in the mirror. And I didn't like what I was becoming, but I didn't know how to stop it either. So it continued heavily until I was 24 years old. And then I, one night, had a entire 1.75 liter of vodka, and I took a few sleeping pills, which obviously I'll talk more in depth about at Women with Voices, but I wasn't trying to kill myself that night. I truly just wanted to shut off my brain and just go to sleep. And I laid down that night knowing that it was not a good idea what I did. And I told myself that if I could wake up the next day, I would find a way to get help. And I did. I spent Christmas that year with my family, and then on the day after Christmas, I walked myself into Valley Hope up in O'Neill, Nebraska, and it's funny because I actually partied up there several times for the parade, but I walked myself up in there and I made the decision that day that I was going to do what I needed to do because I didn't ever want to go back there. And I did the work and I've been sober ever since. And my eating disorder, I think, has been harder to recover from than sobriety and alcohol because you can remove alcohol from your system completely and not be around it if you choose to. But with an eating disorder, you're faced with food 3 times a day, every day, plus snacks, plus holidays, plus anytime you're out with friends and all of that. And it's just not as easy to just shut out of your life and retrain your brain to think that food is a good thing for you. Wow. So
Powerful. That's a great, powerful journey. And congratulations. Obviously, every day's a struggle. But you coming out and sharing your story, right? That's what's so important.
Yeah.
And that others is someone sitting in it right now. Yes. Someone's sitting with that bottle and those pills. Someone's looking at that toilet going, am I going to throw up my supper?
Yes.
And it's a real thing. And I think so many people have like addictions, right?
Yeah.
Where did you feel like when you were young like that? Because it was kind of cool for a while there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like I grew up in the 80s,
sure.
but it was like kind of cool, like, oh, I'm going to throw up.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
But at 8 years old, that's so young. What was it that you thought that was so hard, right? Like, what was it? Is there anyone that's growing, raising young children right now, like what to look for? Like, what was it that was like really just turning you to the...
I think it was just, I grew up in a time with Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and Kate Moss and the very like waif thin figure in society. And I looked at those people, and although I'm very small boned and small figured, I'm tall and I've got long legs, and I just didn't ever feel like I looked like what anyone else did. And I would look in the mirror and it was more my mindset of, I didn't like the way my stomach looked. I was an ice skater, so I had very muscular legs, and I hated my muscles. And I thought if I could just not eat, then the muscles would go away and I would be thinner. I could do more things. I think for anyone out there who has young children, make sure that the words that you're speaking in front of them are just as important as what they're telling themselves. Because I know, my mom was always on a diet, not blaming her at all for this, but seeing that she was always not necessarily happy with her body either. My sister was the same way. All the women in my life, nobody was ever really happy with who they were. And seeing that as a young girl, you just automatically you're not happy with who you are either. And I think the alcohol eventually became a way for me to escape myself. I could be me in a different way, and people accepted that version of me. But then I didn't, my brain shut off all of those negative thoughts in those moments. So
it's so true that growing up, right, they watch their parents, how they act, how they talk. And, I have a daughter that's 30, and I probably didn't do the best job at that either. It's really the society we live in, too. Like you said, Britney Spears magazines. And they put so much pressure on your appearance that it's easy to get put into that viral tunnel of self-destruction. Yeah. And I think hereditary, addiction, right? We don't know.
It runs in my
right?
family,
Like
for
addiction
sure.
of alcohol or anything.
Yes.
And it's like, one person can have a drink and the next person can't.
Yep.
And then you put on all that other negative thoughts and mindset. Yeah. And I grew up in O'Neill, and I've heard of Valley Hope. It's a wonderful organization. I think the courage for you at 24, right, to drive yourself there and do it. says a lot about you.
It was hard.
Determination.
It was hard at that point because I was still in that weird kind of age group where we were out of college, and so people were still partying, but we also had real like adult jobs that we were in, and so it was, is this really a problem? Is it something I'm going to grow out of, or do I really need the help? And I remember telling my friends, like, I think I need help with this, and then being like, oh, we all drink. It's not it's nothing different than what we've always done. And looking back on that, those weren't really the friends that I wanted in my life. I have 2 friends that I still talk to today that were pre-rehab friends that have stayed with me. And I just think being careful and cautious with who's telling you what at what point in your life is so important.
Yeah, the company, just like my friend Van D, right? The company you hang out with, the music you listen to,
Yes.
the things you read, right?
Yes.
But in your 20s, you think you're unstoppable.
of course.
Right, you do.
Yeah.
But at 24, you really saw, I mean, you could have had another 10 years of destruction. And so that's amazing that you saw that at a young age.
I knew walking in that, I mean, from throwing up so much, I had bloody knuckles, I had bruises and scars, I had scars on my stomach from, because you push on your stomach when you're trying to get everything back out. I had scars everywhere, and I just remember thinking like, I'm going to die from this if I don't get help. I knew it. And I walked into Valley Hope, I was 90 pounds soaking wet. And for context, I'm 5'7", and so very tall and lean, but that's not healthy at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what were some steps that you learned, or what are some things that you had to change your life to be the new you, right? The new healthy you.
Yeah.
It's still a struggle. I'm sure it's still hard. Like you said, food, you have to eat. You can't just, I'm not going to eat. You're around it, right? It's like changing your mindset.
Yep.
Changing your environment.
Yes.
And then,
Yeah.
how'd you do it?
Well, when I left Valley Hope, they told me that I shouldn't be hanging out with my friends. I shouldn't go to bars. I shouldn't be around the people. I should go to a halfway house. And I'm not really a rule follower, and I don't really like people telling me what to do. So I didn't do any of those things, which I don't recommend, just for the record. But I knew at the age of 24 that I still had my entire life ahead of me. I didn't have a husband. I was still going to be around my friends and everything. I didn't want to shut them out of my life. And I put myself in very uncomfortable positions in the beginning to make myself more comfortable down the road. Not everyone can do that. Not everyone can be around alcohol when they're an alcoholic. I think what works for you is important, and finding that. But I also think you have to be very aware of that and who you are. I went to AA meetings, obviously. I worked with therapists back here with my eating disorder. And then I just started changing my mindset. I challenged any time I had a negative thought about my body of like, my stomach is sticking out. I challenged that and said, my stomach is sticking out because I ate today, and that's going to go away tomorrow. I stopped weighing myself 10 times a day. I weighed myself once in the morning, and then I put my scale away, and that's it. That's how I feel comfortable during the day. And then as far as the rest of it goes, I have little plates that I use at holidays. I don't like a huge spread of food. I don't go to buffets. I don't do things that overwhelm me with food in general. But I still go out with my friends. I still enjoy things. I used to actually, right when I got out of rehab and for a couple of years after, I carried around an entire liter jug of iced tea with me literally everywhere I went, because I realized that people don't ask you if you want a drink if you have a drink already in front of you.
So true.
So nobody was asking me or trying to offer me that because I already had a liter jug of tea in front of me. And then the other part of it was just making sure that my mindset was healthy enough to move forward. And when it wasn't, I checked myself quickly.
So the one thing I want to ask is, what do you wish people understood about someone struggling with addiction of eating disorders, alcoholism? Like, what's the one thing that may be a myth and you're like, no, this is what I want you to understand?
I think there is an idea of what an alcoholic looks like. Because, I mean, obviously the eating disorder is separate. For an alcoholic, I think there is an ideal of what people, when you think of an alcoholic, when you think of somebody who's gone to rehab, you think of an older person, male or female, but usually male, and somebody that has lived a lot of life, gone through a lot of things, and is now sitting in AA every single day, and they're doing the steps and they're doing the things. But that's not true anymore. And I think if we can kind of crush that idea of it and think of people just being people and having struggles and issues, and just because you have that in your life doesn't mean I don't want to go out with you. That doesn't mean that you can't drink around me. That doesn't mean that I am going to automatically pick up drink if you're drinking in front of me. Those little things, I think, people just automatically assume about being an alcoholic. As far as the eating disorder goes, that's so much harder, because I think people automatically assume that if you're anorexic or if you're bulimic, then you are either overweight with bulimia because you binge and purge, or you are very, very thin, which at one point I was. But I also had the combination of anorexia and bulimia, where I would eat maybe 2 pieces of lettuce and then go make myself throw it up. So it wasn't that I was binging anything. I just didn't want anything in my stomach, but I had to force myself to eat in front of people. But overall, for a long time, I looked very healthy. Just because somebody looks healthy doesn't mean they're not struggling with eating issues, with body dysmorphia, with looking at themselves. They could be in the early stages of it, or they may be in one of those time periods where they're feeling better. That doesn't mean their eating disorder is done.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. Is there a statistic or anything on the average age that people usually start an eating disorder? Is it usually...
It's very young.
Yeah. Is it younger than junior high? I'm thinking junior high, but you said...
Usually disordered thinking starts around the ages of 8 or 9.
Wow.
Yes. And then it just continues to get worse and worse and worse as somebody gets older and continues that. I truly think that if you have a healthy body image of yourself, hats off to you. You're one of the very few, because there are so many women in general and men out there that they look at themselves one time on a bad day and think like, I'm ugly, I'm horrible, I'm fat, I'm this, I'm that, and we're not kind enough to ourselves in general. I tell people when I'm kind of talking to them about this stuff, and parents, like, if you take what you would say to somebody else, your friend, and you apply that to yourself in the mirror, your mindset will slowly start changing. Because how often do you look at your friend and say, no, you're not fat. No, you look amazing. What are you talking about? If you look at yourself the same way, that's so different. But yes, eating disorder started at a very, very young age.
What do you find, like, if you, because you are a speaker, she's speaking at the Women's Voices Summit,
Yes.
and right now you're confidence coach.
Yeah.
You know, that came through all your confidence of finding yourself again. Tell us about that. What made you decide to be a confidence coach? What is it, and how do you help people?
Yeah, so I actually, my company is Corporate Confidence Coach, and we basically help people find confidence in their leadership abilities. So we train anybody from new level managers that were promoted because they're good at a thing, but they don't know anything about leading people, all the way up to executive level. But the core of it is being confident in yourself and staying true to who you are. Because I've found a lot in my career that in different jobs that I've been in, I have tried to fit myself into the mold of what I thought other people at the company wanted me to be, and I lost myself in the process. And then every time I've started at a new job, I have found a different version of me. And at the end of the day, if I would have just remained true to myself the whole time as a leader, it would have been so different for me and my team. So,
Wow.
yeah.
And I also think I see you work out. I see those
do.
workout videos.
I
Tell us
do.
about that,
I
because I'm
do.
sure that's part of like your recovery in a way, right?
Yes.
It's like healthy thinking, healthy eating, healthy
Yes.
like. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I actually,
Looks fun.
so I did the COVID thing and I gained quite a bit of weight. And I was at my highest point, but I've had 70 surgeries. So any additional weight on my body is
Hold it. How many surgeries?
7. Wow. Yeah, I've torn a lot of things in my knees over the years. But any additional weight on my knees is terrible for me. So I, over the years, have found a couple of different workout things that I enjoy, but I decided one day to try Pure Barre, and I love it. It's kind of a combination of both Pilates, and there's cardio involved in it, there's some yoga involved, and it's small movements that don't put a lot of pressure on your joints, which for me is a really big deal. But I started that 3 years ago, and I've just recently added some Pilates classes in the mix, but I think it helps me feel healthy and strong, and walking out of there knowing that I did the thing. I don't like working out, I'll be honest. It's not my
And
favorite.
does anyone really like working out? I don't know. We know the
do.
feeling
Yes.
afterwards. It's like,
Yes.
oh, I should go to church. I'm going to church. I feel good. It's like working out. Okay, I
Yes.
gotta go.
Yeah.
And then you feel better.
Yeah, I always say, because I coach people on eating the frog first thing in the morning, so I'm a 5 a.m.er.
Yeah.
I work out at 5 a.m. and that's my frog. I don't like working out, but that's my frog in the morning. Once I do it, I feel better and I know my day is on the right path.
And do you teach?
No.
Oh, I thought
no.
you were a teacher. I don't know. I was looking like you could be a
I'm not.
teacher.
I know
No?
ice skating, you would think I would be good with music and counting. I'm not.
Okay,
That's
well,
not
I love
my-
watching you work out.
Thank you.
So many women out there, right? I think sometimes you can get an eating disorder even like in your older age, because you're around someone that tells you you're not worthy, you're not great, you're fat, you're ugly,
Yes.
and you're trying to prove them, right? What advice do you have for anyone that knows, okay, I know I have a problem, I know I need to do something. We're talking about the eating disorder, right? Because I feel like so many people have it. I was a cheer coach leader, and I've seen a lot of things with my girls, and it really comes from building confidence in young people and women today, what I do. But what if someone right now is like listening and they're like, how do I begin? I don't have the strength to get in the car and drive myself to Valley Hope. Like, what's one little advice you can give to them that say, okay, this is where you can start?
Write down your negative thoughts and then burn it.
Wow. Share that.
Burn it. So write down whatever negative thoughts are in your head and then say, I'm going to let this go today, and then light that shit on fire.
Wow.
Because once you let that go, you see it burning, you can say, okay, here are the positive thoughts that are replacing that. And then just start writing them down. Positive affirmations. I know it sounds silly to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm beautiful, I'm worthy, I'm healthy. But I will tell you, after a while, you start believing it. So say the things that feel awkward and weird to yourself over and over and over again, because it takes, I think it's 66 days to build a habit. So if you can start thinking of your body as strong and beautiful and healthy and carrying you, I mean, think of everything we do in a day and what your body goes through and how it helps you through those things. If you can start seeing that as your tool instead of a negative thing and hating yourself, everything changes for you.
I'm smiling because one of my keynote signature speeches, I carry a Wonder Woman cape, right? And I actually put it on, and then I tell women, I think we all need the cape in our bathrooms, right? It's a proven fact. When you stand up straight and you put your
Superman stance,
and you look in that mirror,
that's actually part of my confidence.
Yes,
training.
it is a fact that your mindset.
Yes,
And like in Mel Robbins, the high five, right?
Yeah.
Words are so powerful.
Yeah, and I will say the actions of confidence come second.
Yeah.
you have to, I mean, the actions of confidence come first. You have to do the hard thing first. Then you start thinking, I can do this. You know you can do it because you just did it. So do the hard thing. Do the thing you're afraid of. Even if it's looking yourself in the mirror and saying positive things about yourself, do that hard thing, because eventually the thoughts of confidence come after that.
Absolutely. What makes you confident? It's loving yourself,
Yes.
right? And you're a confidence coach. I love having confidence in women, right? Women with voices.
Yeah.
And it's so important to find your tribe.
Yes.
You know, one thing about Women Voices, they say, I feel safe, I feel comfortable here. And find the people that are on your side.
Yes.
And sometimes we have to ditch the others.
And if you are in a room with people that are telling you negative things about you or themselves constantly, because negativity is a cancer. And I think if you are around negativity all the time, and even if it's just people saying like, oh, this is such a bad day. Oh, I don't feel good. Oh, I don't want this. I don't is a cancer in itself.
Absolutely.
And I think if you start putting yourself in other rooms around different people who challenge you, who ask you to be better, who do it in a loving, kind way, but also call you on your shit, you will see changes.
So powerful. Gosh, okay. How can people get a hold of you, Miss Wonder Woman, confidence coach? And truly a big heart.
Oh, thank you. So corporate confidence coach, you can look me up on Instagram. It's at corporate confidence coach, thecorporateconfidencecoach.com. Otherwise, Julie Seidl, J.A. Seidl is my Instagram. But yeah, go like me, follow me, whatever you want to do. But I try to promote a lot of positivity, and you know, I'm authentic. I am not perfect. My very first workshop that I did, I tripped over my own heel and I almost fell on my face. So there are videos like that on there all the time. I promise you.
We're not meant to be perfect. We're just meant to be perfectly made how God sees us, right? All right. So thank you, Julie. And remember, world, confidence begins from within. Be around the people that really pump you up.
For sure.
And nothing can be undone. You just need the strength, the courage, and the people around you. Go make it a great day. Thank you.